Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemons. It is a special day in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We are recently coming off of the CCMF festival right here in Myrtle Beach. And just so many beautiful things happen in the summer in Myrtle Beach. And I got to thinking about needing a different kind of a guest than we've had recently, because there is something we're going to talk about today that is so critical to all of our businesses, to all of the clubs we're in if we're in clubs. It might be important to your church if you go to church, to your sports team if you play sports. And we're talking about digital content and creation. In modern times, 2025, a company, sure, you need to still spend some money on getting your advertising out there. You still need to maybe put up a billboard if that's important to your company. But businesses are made sometimes off of what they're doing online and how creative they are. So today, I actually have a digital creator on with me. We're going to talk all about things that you can do to make creative content, how he's going about it. He's also a local influencer in Myrtle Beach. And when I say local, I mean, you know how it goes. It's all over the country, but Myrtle Beach is his home base. And his name is none other than JB Ill. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Good to meet you.
Man, it's good to meet you. We've been around a little bit recently.
We have.
I used to see your social media posts, so you're already doing good stuff. I didn't really know you. And all of a sudden, we go out and we're doing some dragon boat together.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You have this great vibe about you. Came up, there's a positivity in you that I think is important to all leadership,
For sure.
And then zoom forward a little bit. It's social influencer night over at the Greg Rolls Theater.
Yep.
So I got invited, and guess what? I see this guy again. I'm like, doggone, man, he's everywhere right now. And it's ever since then, I've been noticing you all over the place. Mm-hmm. Dude, what kind of stuff have you been up to, man? It seems like you're everywhere.
Oh, man, I could go into grave detail about that.
Right?
Yeah, so, Myrtle Beach has just been so good to me. Mm-hmm. And, it's honestly, because I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
But I don't know, ever since I came to Myrtle Beach, I've only been here for about 3 years.
Okay.
But I've always just kind of had that love for the beach. And I kind of come by that honestly.
Yeah.
Because I have a family full of beachy people.
Okay.
So ever since I came, if you look, my family's always on vacation at the beach. So
nice.
I kind of came by that, honestly. So, but these 3 years in Myrtle Beach, man, it's honestly the sense of community here has just been so amazing. Like seeing everybody show up and show out for one another. The community here is really something to be proud of.
I like that you're saying that, man, because like the thing is that, like I said, Myrtle Beach, we have so many people from so many areas.
Yes.
Whether you're coming from Atlanta, whether you're coming from up north, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
But when you come down here, there is a sense of community.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time there's an event, somebody's doing a ribbon cutting or somebody's doing something that's important, people just show up to support each other. So that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and when the more you see of it, it really shows, wow. We're like, and I was telling somebody too, it's like Myrtle Beach feels like a family. Mm-hmm. It feels like one big family,
Right.
So, and you see that every day, with new businesses that open, like even, when somebody passes away, like if we lose a community member, you see the amount of love and support and the impact, so.
Oh man, that's so true.
It's honestly a beautiful thing to see.
Coastal lost one of their influential people recently.
They did.
And his name is just escaping my mind. But when he did, it was just amazing to see the community outreach and outpouring of support. And it was like, there's something bigger than just any individual person when you understand the community heartbeat. How was it different here than Atlanta? Like, tell me what the difference is.
It's kind of funny because when I was in Atlanta, I was out a lot, but I wasn't really like involved in like the community per se as like I am here in Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is so much different from Atlanta because Atlanta's like a city.
Well, first of all, Atlanta's like 20 million times bigger.
Yeah.
Population wise, it's huge.
Yeah, Atlanta is huge. So it's like, it's kind of like a city, whereas Myrtle Beach is it's kind of like
we're still a town.
Yeah, we're still a town, but it's more like intimate, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So, it's easier to get around.
Yeah.
But it's funny, dude. When I was in Atlanta, I don't think I was really out this much.
Oh, okay.
I was out, but not like going to everything.
Right.
Like as involved in the community, like too involved as I am here.
Like too involved. He's like, man, what am I doing today?
I know.
you went to CCMF recently. How was the experience there?
Oh man, CCMF was one of the most. It was one of the absolute funnest weekends of my life. And what's funny is that, like I said, I've never really been a huge country music fan, but I like going to stuff for the experience. You know, so I've seen photos and videos of CCMF. Everybody's in their cowboy gear and cowboy boots, and the artists are good. There's so many free and fun activities to do. My friends, you get to be around friends and you get to be around. So that was more so the appeal for me for CCMF. So, I said I can dress up as a cowboy and, go. Now, I will say that some of the artists that I seen this year, I was kind of like, already a fan of. Like, my favorite artists, I have like a top 3.
Okay.
I enjoyed Rascal Flatts.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
Biggie.
Jelly Roll was absolutely electric. And then you had the Beach Boys that played on Sunday. Now, even though the Beach Boys is not necessarily my era.
Right, I was going to say that a little bit. Hell, they're not even my era. I'm a lot older than you. I know what you mean.
So even though they're not my era, I've grown up on a little bit of their songs. You know, my top 3, and they actually performed them at CCMF, which I was actually happy to see.
Was John Stamos there with them?
John Stamos was there.
Okay,
he was there along with Uncle Jesse.
There you go,
Uncle Jesse.
For sure.
So it was radical seeing them, and then. But the 3 songs that I really like by them is The Good Vibrations. They had Surfin' USA. They did that one.
Of course, yep.
And then they did Barbara Ann, which I think is like, I've really grown to like that one.
You want to talk about legendary music, man, that came down. Well, the coolest thing about CCMF is that's exactly what it's about. It's like, I don't think anybody looks at the Beach Boys and says, oh, well, here's a country music act. Nobody says that. And nor Kid Rock. Kid Rock was there, and
Kid Rock was there.
He's not what most people would call true country, but they're out there, and number one, you are getting to experience things that you haven't maybe been to a country music festival before. And then you're hearing all these cool things, and people are experiencing. I like what you said, things they never experienced before.
Right, exactly.
It's a crazy crowd. I saw the drone shots on some of the social media. They had those drones up there.
The drones up there.
That's crazy.
And you really see like because CCMF is pretty popular here in Myrtle Beach. It sells out every year, so you really see, because they just had 10 years of CCMF, and I wasn't even here for 10 years.
Right.
They started doing this 2015. So, and it's always good seeing an event grow year after year. And I heard CCMF is like really good for businesses because it's when everybody shows up, not even just locals, people from out of town come here every year. I've seen people with general admission badges from every year. From every year. People are like loyal CCMFers. So, and it was, I'm always open. Ever since I've been to Myrtle Beach, I've always, because people say you're everywhere, dude. You're at everything.
You are.
So I feel like, and also, to be honest with you, and CCMF was also one of those things. It's like you kind of do just to say you did, But it's fun though, and another thing I was gonna say was, I feel like you can't truly say you've been everywhere in Myrtle Beach if you have not been to CCMF.
I think that's fair, man. You got to get out and try it at least once. And, the thing is it's a commitment of time. When you go, it's tons of crowds. You got to find the parking and all that. But boy, it is unlike anything else. All right, so let's go past the CCMF. That would super cool thing. You probably go back next year, I'm guessing. Once you experience it, you gotta.
It's so much fun.
What else have you done that's kind of cool lately? Anything that you'd say, man, that was also really cool?
Oh man, that question is always hard because I literally do so much cool stuff. It's hard to pinpoint. Well, actually, something just came off the top of my head. Now this year I did something. I did the Polar Plunge this year. So that's Special Olympics of South Carolina does that, and I always think it's fun to do stuff for a good cause.
When you did the Polar Plunge, did it it's supposed to make you feel good? Did you feel good, or be honest?
Actually, no. It was pretty exciting. It was pretty exciting to do it because I always say it's fun to do things for a good cause. So, Special Olympics of South Carolina, they want to raise money for, people that, that may be a little, I'm trying to find the right word, like disabled, kids,
Absolutely.
they still have dreams they want to, they want to follow. So, I feel like, by us doing that, it helps us to, not only raise money for them, but, it gives them opportunities to, do things. So when I did the Polar Plunge, I had never, I was a little nervous at first because, I know what the Polar Plunge entails. It's hundreds of people out there, you run into cold water. But what was funny about that was, it was pretty warm that day when we did it. And the water was, I want to say it was about 45 degrees.
Oh, man, that's no Polar Plunge.
Yeah, so it wasn't
That's like
really,
a sauna.
yeah, well, I mean, water was still pretty cold.
No.
But yeah, it was honestly fun, running in with there's a video on my YouTube channel about it, we're all hundreds of people running in to the water at the same time. Everyone's excited. Everybody is, I actually have a Polar Plunge shirt at home. It says freezing for a reason.
Freezing for a reason.
Yeah, freezing.
I like it. Well, we talked about leadership earlier. I said, leadership, there's that altruism side. It's like, what are we doing for others to lift others up?
Absolutely.
So when you said what you just said, I do believe we always need to, everything we do, I believe we need to come back and say, what am I doing for everybody else?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like if I just found a way to make $1 billion this year, if it's all for my good, what good is it?
What good is it?
Yeah,
exactly.
so you want to kind of make sure you're doing the right things for people and helping people out. I like it.
Absolutely.
Well, dude, we got a lot to talk about, man. We did Dragon Boat this year, like I said.
That was absolutely fun.
It was craziness,
that
man.
Was fun.
Raised a lot of money, got a little workout in.
Yeah,
I've seen you. I feel like I saw you doing a fun run or something. Did you do a run or something recently?
Yes, I did Ed's Hurricane Hustle.
Ed's Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Shout out Ed Piotrowski.
Shout out Ed Piotrowski. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, cool.
Yeah, and that was what's so funny is that was my second 5K that I did.
Yeah.
Because I did the Myrtle Beach 5K marathon in October.
Okay.
And
are you a runner? Are you a runner by trade?
No, I'm not necessarily a runner, but
I'll be clear. I'm saying I know you can run, but I'm saying like, hey man, let's go do a 5K for the fun of it.
I mean, like I said, you just always do. But that was my first time because I walk a lot. I'm pretty active as far as walking and getting my exercise. So I kind of figured a 5K would be nothing for me. And it's so funny. My mom, whenever I go to do these things, she's still a mama bear at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
So she always is like, Jaden, are you going to be okay doing that? Like, that's something, like, even with Polar Plunge and stuff, she's like, what? That's cold water. You're not going to get...
Wait, was she here or did she call you? Like, was she actually here during the run?
Oh, no. I tell her about these things, before I do them.
Make sure you eat your carbs tonight.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Mom's never changed, dude. Even when you get older, she's still going to be doing that.
Oh, yeah. She's still going to make sure you're good. Absolutely. That's mama at the end of the day. I love her, So she always, wants to make sure I'm all right when I'm doing these things because she's like, I know you're out a lot, so just make sure you, stay safe out there.
Stay safe and ahead of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what. Let's get into a little bit about your background because I feel like a lot of what you're doing it's relevant for people to know where you came from. So
yeah, we have so many great local influencers here. I want to shout out a few of them. We have Rebecca Logan Brown. We have Jenny Fitzpatrick. We have Retro Myrtle Beach guy. We also have one by the name of MJ Myrtle Beach. We have Myrtle Beach Foodie Babe, which is Amy Everhart.
Yep.
We have Bob's Restaurant Review. And there's so many of us here. So I feel like, and that's another thing too, is like, through doing this stuff, you find like-minded people that are trying to get the same message out there. Like, no, Myrtle Beach is great. Like, here's what it has to offer.
Yeah.
So I feel like all of us banding together and, coming into one space and, I feel like it also helps to get the message out there. And it also helps to show people, hey, because I've had people comment on my stuff before. They say, ooh, well, this looks nice. I got to go check this out.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for them. So it's like, and I feel like that's what influencing is supposed to be.
That's what influencing is.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. We talk about what does it even mean, right? And it's like at its base level, you're trying to create an inspiration, you're trying to create an excitement and enthusiasm about something that people may not know about.
Right.
Because if all you're doing is hyping things that everybody knows about, well, who cares? It's like, I can sit here and be like, you guys should check out NFL football, and here's why. It's like, well, everybody knows about NFL football. Right? But when you talk about Myrtle Beach, but not even just Myrtle Beach, you start drilling down, and you're like, hey, I did the Ed's run, and you did the Dragon Boat. People start saying, hey, I want to try that.
Yeah.
And I always find it weird. I've heard that thing, too, where sometimes people say there's nothing nothing doing Myrtle
Yeah.
Beach. I'm like, have you been to Blytheville, Arkansas? Now there's where, and I'm an Air Force kid growing up. So
Yeah,
I've been some places where there's nothing going on.
Yeah,
Myrtle Beach got
nothing.
plenty, right?
There's plenty going on here,
Well, tell me this. So you have to make a lot of content.
Yeah.
When you're a creator, and this is where I like to get into talking about those people who are listening today. And it's a challenge. I think every good marketing person, sometimes you're thinking, what am I going to do for content today?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of pressure on you because as a creator, that's all you do.
Right.
What do you do to come up with these ideas? Like, how do you do it, man?
And that's actually a great question. Sometimes, and I've actually gotten this question before because all the events that I go to and that I cover, they're like, well, how did you find out about that? Or like, what's like your, how do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I search for things sometimes, or because I'm a part of a lot of Myrtle Beach groups.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes I'll see a lot of events, going on here. So sometimes, and being that there's so much going on, you can't necessarily get to everything.
Right,
so
right.
that's another thing. It's like you have to really pinpoint, what exactly you want to cover that day. So like, say for instance, Sun Fun Festival's going on that day, but then you got fireworks at Broadway this day, and then you got a concert here this day. Now, sometimes I can make it to, it's harder, but, sometimes I can go to 2 events in one day and say, well, hey, this is going on, and then this is going on.
You gotta make that cameo appearance, click, and then get out.
And then get out of there, yeah. So, but yeah, it's mainly through, and sometimes, I'll even throw this out there, sometimes I get invited, to go and cover things. Like, it was a little before CCMF, I've gotten invited, there's a local attraction here. It's called Hop On Adventures, and the guy that runs it is he works at Grand Strand Brewing, but he goes by the name of Jam Harrison.
Okay.
And he actually reached out to me, and he was like, hey Jay, we need like some would you be down to come and cover the bus for us for Sunday, because they have, so he was like, we can let you on, you can show your audience what it's like, because we need help promoting it. So sometimes businesses will reach out and say, hey, we're doing a soft opening here, there's a couple that I've gotten, and there was another one for the National House of Pancakes. They reached out. They were like, hey, we're small. We've been here for 50 years. Yeah. We would like for you to come and, cover it.
All right.
come and, yeah. So,
National House of Pancakes getting at you now.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm about to say the videos, and stuff, more people are starting to see them because, the more you get up there, people start. And also, another thing that shows that you're trusted. People trust you, to get the word out there. So I feel like when you get invited to things, people are like, well, hey, he does this, well, we trust him to get the word out there. So,
oh, man. Hey, look, something you just said, I think is like one of the pro tips that comes from the show today. If you want to be an influencer, if you want to be out there, when you get your opportunities, you do have to promote it. Look, I believe in that heavily, because there's nothing less inspiring to a business than saying, hey, why don't you come out of my event, and somebody doesn't talk about it at all.
Yeah, they don't talk about it.
And always know the good guest on the show, because I bring guests on the show because I believe that you might have a brand of leadership. That it's not like leadership like you're always a manager. I mean, like you're leading the way at what you're doing. And I'm amazed by sometimes, we'll do all these cool clips and everything, and some people just, they don't even talk about they were on the show. I'm like, well, there's like an inherent responsibility when you're invited to kind of be like, yeah, this is something I'm doing. I'm out there, and you do a great job with it. So I do think
I appreciate that.
You got to be, people have to trust that you're going to get the word out. And that's something that's key, man. Dude, I love that. That's
for
a good
sure.
idea. Yeah.
Exactly. So and that definitely, and plus it gets you more opportunities as well, So I feel like, I'll even throw this out there. I've only been doing this for like a year. Yeah. So, I'm still, your groove? Yeah, I'm still getting in the groove, still learning some things, but the experience is fun, and I tell people, and people even ask me, like, how do I start? I had one guy ask me, like, how do I start a YouTube channel? Yeah. And I tell them, just start, man. Because just put it out there. Yeah, you just put it out there, because, sometimes people think you got to have this big old game plan, like, okay, so I'm going to make this, and then I'm going to introduce it with that. And dude, it's really not, it's not that serious, because literally me, The way I got my start, dude, I just uploaded, like the way I started my YouTube channel, I just uploaded a video from July 4th.
Right.
It was just me walking around the beach, filming the crowd, filming the fireworks, and that's literally how I started.
All right, so pro tip number 2, just get the experiences out there on the film.
Yeah.
You know, look, we've all been there. Like my wife and I, we go to a place called Universal Studios in Florida.
I love that place.
I love the way I said it, like nobody would know what I was talking about. It's a place called Universal. But dude, it's so cool, and they got Halloween Horror Nights and stuff. And sometimes when we're just thinking about going back there, you know, you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram and you see somebody pop up something where they could be doing something as simple as walking through a line, and you're like, well, I want to watch that. I just want to get immersed in it.
Yeah,
so just show the experiences online, dude. I love it. Pro tip number 2 right there already.
Exactly. Yes.
Let me ask you about this, and this is my thoughts. Have you found that your posts are more successful based on the time of day? Because the content's got to be good. We always know that.
Yeah.
But are you careful about when you're posting to make sure that you're giving yourself the max success, or you not worry about all that?
I worry about it not all the time, because you know I tell people content takes time to post, and my people will tell you that too. Like you can't always, you know, especially. So I feel like sometimes the time frame is important. You know, that way it's fresh on people's mind.
Right.
Like for example, there was one video that I did about I filmed at Food Truck Fest.
Okay.
There was one that, you know, I kind of try to get with that, and I actually was, what's the word? I was invited to do that as well. So with Food Truck Fest, with that particular content, you know, it's a 3-day event. So what I'll do with my content sometimes is, most of the time it's story posts. So like for Food Truck Fest, I want to make sure that I get at least day 1 out. The same day, so that people can see, you know, hey, you got 2 more days to, you know, experience this. And with CCMF, I kind of did the same thing, except it was more so story posts. Like I show people, hey, this is what day 1 was like. You still got 3 more days. Now I'm going to show you what day 2 is like. I'm going to show you what day 3 is like. So I kind of try to give people, sometimes in real time, you know, what something is like. But now with content like Food Truck Fest, I just want to, you know, show people what day 1 is like, slap a video together and say, boom, here's what day 1's like. You got 3 more days to come out.
I think that's important. You know, I think there is a timing game that's very important in it. You know, when I do my CCMF special, which we're just coming off of, I usually try to get something out during the day.
Yeah.
Now that thing during the day, because it's done quickly, like that can't be the most polished version of it.
Right.
So that thing you did that day, it might be more raw and in the moment, but sometimes those are the better viewed stuff.
Yeah.
To your point. But then at the end of it, I like to do kind of a summary thing where we'll put it all together and put it together. So there's a time and place for both, but you have to know which one's which.
Right.
Are you a fan of going live more, or do you try to just do it, post stuff after the fact?
What's funny is that I'll do a lot of after the fact posts, you know, because I'll film and I do. And that's something I was thinking about, you know, maybe, because I haven't went live on my YouTube before or on my Instagram, but I've been thinking about doing it because, you know, with live, but live is kind of something that I do with my story posts.
Yeah.
Now, YouTube videos are a different ball game because, you know, of course, you have to film it, you have to edit it up, you know, and that takes time. So, you know, and it's really just about, you know, trying to get it, like I said, when it's fresh on people's mind. But with the whole live thing, I mainly do it with my story posts.
Okay.
So that you can kind of see, you know, what's going on in that moment. Yeah. But as far as like YouTube and videos like that, or even like after movies, because I do a lot of recaps on my page too. So it's like, now on Instagram you're gonna get maybe like the quick version, you know, maybe like a minute recap of like the most important stuff. And then on YouTube you may get a longer version, you know, where I'm talking and I'm walking around saying, hey, we're at Myrtle Beach Classic, or we're at such and such. You know, so with YouTube it may take a little while, but I do try to get like recaps and stuff out, you know, like I said, within the time frame, if possible. Now, YouTube videos is not always promised. You know? And I think, and I was joking about this with somebody, I think I make a lot of extra, I make a lot of extra work on myself, if I'm being honest with you, because, you know, I do a lot of stuff every day. So it's like, it seems like I'm always out. So
yeah, you probably got a lot of stuff that never even makes it out there.
yeah, I still have videos that haven't made it on my YouTube yet that I'm still editing to this day. So it's like, I'll go out, okay, I'll be at this event one day, like I'm at Sun Fun Festival this day, or I'm at Bike Week this day. Then the next day, it's like, well, there's this going on. You might want to go check that out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go check that out too. Or, hey, such and such invited you to come and cover this.
Yeah.
So it's like all these videos end up piling up, and it's like, you know.
It becomes a full-time job after a while.
Yeah, it becomes a full-time job after a while. But it's honestly fun, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and that's something that I was always encouraged to do. They say, you know, find something, my dad always used to tell me, find something that you love to do. And, you know, everything's a building block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
well, you're young into it, but, you know, you do find a passion for it. And it is important to find something you enjoy, because if you don't have a passion for what you're doing, and this is something I learned early in life, you know, I find these jobs I make a lot of money doing, but I really didn't like the job. Yeah. And so when you don't have a passion for something, what happens is the first time you run into some roadblocks, which you will in every career, no matter what you're doing. I always love telling sports stories where a player, you know, had a failure and they felt like, man, this is tough, but they had the passion to keep getting better rather than saying, I'm quitting, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to do it anymore. Exactly.
So I think that's a powerful thing. Well, let me kind of like get to, we got a few minutes left, so I want to get to some questions, maybe about social media, maybe about you. When you're going to high school, would you say you were outgoing, or are you more shy?
Oh man, if I say that we're getting to the good part now. We're getting to the good part now. So when I was in high school, oh man, and this was when I was still living in Atlanta. Yeah. So I always tell people Myrtle Beach did something to me. Okay. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Because when I was in high school, I was very kind of in the back. Yeah. You know, I didn't really interact with a lot of people. You know, the confidence, because I dealt with a lot of confidence issues, you know, kind of growing up about. So, you know, I didn't really feel like I related to anybody, you know, because everybody was into, because I wasn't the kind of kid that was into like TikTok and trap music, you know, all the newer stuff, all the new dances and whatnot. I wasn't a trendy kind of guy. Okay. You know, I kind of stayed, I'm an old soul still to this day, but I was an old soul all my life. I mean,
you're a Beach Boys fan, for God's sake. Yeah. I'm playing. That was a callback.
That's funny. Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't really feel like, you know, I could really relate, because I'm like, nobody, you know, I felt like I was boring to people. Plus, you know, getting picked on throughout school, you know, because, you know, a lot of times when you're different, you know, people tend to think something's wrong with you, or they tend to think that, you know, you're just this lame guy. So, you know, I'm not even going to lie to you, you know, some of that, you know, it kind of got to my head a little bit, because I'm like, well, what if I am lame? You know, what if I am,
man,
you know?
I hear you, yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I never really was like, you know, out there, you know, because I was different. I got picked on a lot throughout school. So, so I kind of had to learn over the years to be comfortable, you know, be proud of who I am. Because I used to tell even my parents, I used to say, well, I don't feel like I can relate to anybody. Like, I don't feel like anybody's into what I'm into. I feel like a lame guy, you know, I'm not into, and they're just like, and you know, people used to always tell me, well, you mean something to somebody. Somebody's gonna like who you are. Yeah. And I used to always be like, no, I don't think so, because nobody, I mean, I felt like I was a boring guy.
Man, high school can be tough on your emotions, you know, too. Like, you're at the peak of trying to grow up and find out who you are, and you got that adversity coming at you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
So, yeah, you know, and I always say the road is different for certain people. So, yeah, high school, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I was still very likable. People still, you know, I still had friends.
Oh, you had your clique, but it just was,
it just, you know, at times, you know, the monsters in your ear can kind of, you know, get to you, and then, you know, tell you, you know, well, nobody's gonna like you. You know what I mean? People are gonna think you're like, you know, a lot of, you know, you kind of let that stuff get to your head sometimes. So I would say, but it's just crazy, because I see the drastic difference from the 3 years that I've been here in Myrtle Beach. Now it's like, you see me everywhere. Yeah. Now it's like you know, so it's like, I felt like when I came here, you know, being that it started off with just like a love for the beach, and just kind of, you know, because when I moved here, you know, I was just like bopping up and down the beach, you know. I started to learn, and I also had to tell myself too, I had to look myself in the mirror one day, you know, and I had to be like, now Jaden, I was like, you know, it's kind of like a conversation with just you and yourself, you know, and I was like, now I want you to look me in the eye, and I want you to think about this question. When have you ever had to switch up who you were? Anybody that's ever liked you, when have you ever had to switch up anything about yourself? And I had to think about that because, like I said, you know, I thought I was a lame guy, but they were like, no, I want you to really think about it. When have you ever not acted like yourself? And I was like, and I thought long and hard about it. I was like, you know what? And I looked at myself, you are absolutely right. You know, you're right. So then that's kind of where the epiphany came. It was like, you know what? I am, you know, people do like me for who I am. I don't have to be like this image, you know, that, you know, I don't have to be what people necessarily like think I should be like. You know, because I tell people all the time, and now I'm trying to tell people that, like, just be yourself. Because when you try to be somebody else, you know, it's not, people are liking a fake version of you. You know, they're not falling in love with the genuine version of you or who you are. Because the character that you're playing as is not you. You're just trying to please these people that you know, like that so-called quote-unquote version of you, but they don't, if they don't appreciate you for who you are, then they're not really your friends. They're absolutely. So.
Well, I feel what you're laying down. I mean, I think one thing, and dude, that's really cool stuff. Reason I say it's cool is I feel like that's your pro tip number 4 of the day, and that is be authentic in what you're doing. My message to kids would be, and again, I'm older now, but I was a kid at one point. You know? And I'm not as old as some of the other people that are out there, right? You know, like everybody's at their own stage. But that would be my message. We're all at our own stages. And there's, you know, we always hear that thing about the kids who are like really super cool in school. And then they don't really go anywhere in life. And then some people are just at a stage or a phase that it may not be even the phase for them. Maybe as you're being authentic to yourself, your stage is going to hit a few years later. So always have hope. And if there's somebody sitting out there listening today that has depression, self-doubt, things like that, that's what the leader mentality is about. It's about that. When you have that inner ability to keep proceeding and thriving, even when it feels like maybe everybody's not with you. Because in this world, we have lots of more people like us than we think. So the fact that you're able to kind of come through and share that story where you're having those doubts, but you said, hey, you're always true to yourself. You're always authentic. And people who like you. Now the message is you need to find more people who are feeling your message. And that's kind of what you're doing now, man. So I'm going to recap a couple of those at the end. But before we get into that, I just want to ask you one question, kind of like a thought process. You are a fairly young guy. And what would you say right now if I were to rank social media? Give me your top 3 social media and your favorite, not the ones you think are the most important to post on. Because there's a lot of business owners out here right now who we know we still got to be posted on Facebook. Most of our buyers are on Facebook. But I'm talking about you, a young guy. What are your top 3 social media in order?
So top 3 would be, so Instagram
is one.
Okay. TikTok and YouTube.
Bro, I love a simple answer because the reason I'm asking that question is, look, if you're out there today and we're trying to give you guys some tips on how to do your social media, how to get ahead, first of all, we need to know what people are really interested in. You know, if I'm trying to hit up the baby boomers, that's cool. Let's be on Facebook. You know, let's get that done. Older Gen Xers, let's be on Facebook. And those are some of the best buyers out there. But if you're trying to appeal to a younger generation right now, you need to listen to that because what you just said is pretty straight up. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. YouTube's still a king. We got to be looking at that. YouTube Shorts, I think people need to be more on top of that.
YouTube Shorts.
Because you post a full YouTube video and then you post a short and you look at your views.
And they're
shorts
there.
Right there, man. That's
shorts
the trick.
Get the most views,
Boy. Man, so that's some good pro tips. So, well, Jay, what I got from you today, you had some things I wrote down. Talked about sharing the experience. So, You
Yep.
listen out there, you want to make a good social media content, share the
Yeah.
experience, let the emotion come through in the video.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that you said that. Be time sensitive. You know, sometimes in the heat of the moment, we're very busy and you got this video that you shot and it's like, oh, I'll post it tomorrow. I'll post it 3 days from now.
Yeah.
Shoot it in the moment, get the time sensitivity, which ties back to the experience. You said you're making connections locally. I think that's a beautiful thing for you to do.
Oh, yeah.
If you're out there in business and you're trying to establish your social media presence, hook up with other people who are already doing it on social media.
Yeah,
That's a
for
big one.
sure.
Hey, that's part of the reason this guy and I got to know each other. You know,
Yep.
we're both running some circles, and then be authentic. You know,
Yes.
don't try to copy Nike. More importantly, don't try to copy the other company that does what you do.
Yes,
That is
exactly.
a killer to me, man.
It
I think
is a killer, yeah.
being authentic and showing who you are, because then you'll attract your real clients. And then
Absolutely.
when they finally meet you from that cool social media video, you are you.
Exactly.
That's
And
my biggest fear. Like, you know, you come out here faking who you are and they meet you in real life and they're like, oh.
He's different, yeah. Like, that's not what we meant.
No, that's not what we thought.
That's not what we remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, man, JB Ill, man. I've enjoyed having you on. Tell people how they can find you on social media and everywhere.
Absolutely. So you guys can find me on YouTube. I am Jay the Myrtle Beach Encyclopedia, and I am also JB Ill on Instagram.
Oh, man, very good. Well, hey, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks for having
I know
me.
we'll see you around in Myrtle
yeah.
Beach and elsewhere. And look, if you guys are listening today, we're always just trying to give you some good ideas for how you can inspire somebody else to be your best self. And really, at the end of the day, you know, use these tips because sometimes they feel obvious, but if they were so obvious, more people would be doing them.
Exactly,
So get
yeah.
out there, make a difference. We do want to thank our sponsors, Carolina-based Real Estate and Construction. Thank you to all of our friends out there, social media,
Yep.
Greg Roll's Legacy Theater, always. Thank you guys for your support.
Absolutely.
And we will see you all next time on the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemons.
Yep.